Welcome to another edition of Talk of the Town, brought to you by National Media Services and, of course, the Royal Examiner. If you are not currently reading the Royal Examiner on a daily basis, you need to hop on over there to the website and sign up for your daily email. We'll bring you all the news stories that occur on a once-a-day basis. It's a lot of great information. And I'm happy to welcome in today Victor Parker, a really dynamic individual I've had the pleasure of meeting. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
Now, you are a peer counselor, a pretty unique organization. It's the DBSA, the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. That's a mouthful of letters, but tell me exactly what that is and what you do.
Well, the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance is an organization, a nonprofit organization that supports people with mood-regulated disorders. It's peer-led. That means that all of the facilitators have one or more mental health disorders themselves. Primarily bipolar, schizophrenia or schizoaffective, depression, major depression, and PTSD, and things of this nature. Mm-hmm. And so we meet to encourage and support each other in our approach to wellness.
Okay. Now, I'm thinking that some of the mental illnesses that you mentioned are quite serious, and I'm thinking, how can someone with perhaps schizophrenia lead a peer support group? But you do have training. The folks who lead these groups have training. There are, in fact, about 300 chapters around the country.
Yes, there's a formalized training through our national organization, and that the national offices are in Chicago, the DBSS offices are in Chicago, and they do offer a national training, and it's about, I think it costs around $1,500. It's a week-long training, at least 40 hours, and it consists of a lot of role playing and a lot of information about how to deal with people who may present themselves at these meetings.
Okay. And I know in this crazy world, I didn't mean that crazy, a little pun perhaps there.
Right.
It's a very stress-filled world, and there are a lot more mental health diagnoses these days, and there's not so much the stigma attached now as there was even 10 years ago. There's a lot of mental health issues out there.
It is, and that's another one of the functions of DBSA, is to help combat the stigmas associated with mental health disorders. We also do a bit on removing or eliminating stigma, not just from society, but individual stigmas. People who've been diagnosed, and like myself, I went through a period where I stigmatized myself. You know, and so we try to support people in not doing those things anymore. We focus on reintegration into the community. We focus on inclusion again. The Americans with Disabilities Act was designed so that people wouldn't be different or treated differently in society. And even though we got group homes and facilities to help, they still exclude in some ways.
Well, and I think there's a factor of shame when someone has a mental illness. I think they probably carry that themselves, and it's amplified perhaps in their own mind. If they're not seen in a certain way, they may believe that they are.
Well, one of the things, you know, Norma, for me was this feeling that I was less than, like I was the cause of my disorder.
Oh my.
And when I, in actuality, wasn't.
Sure.
And in addition to that, not having any coping skills to function in society with the disorder. And so DBSA, we help to provide an educational component as well, so that the sufferer or the person living with the disorder can recognize that there are things that you can do to combat the symptomology.
Okay. If someone's listening to this interview, watching us today, and those words that we're talking, that you're saying about those feelings and symptoms, if that's striking them and they're wanting to get help, how can they go about getting hold of you or finding out about one of the DBSA meetings that you have? Because you're in a couple different locations, aren't you?
Yes, we're hoping to be in a lot more locations as well. In on the internet, you can go to dbsalliance.org, and on that webpage, go to the top right, click on Find a Meeting, and there will be a picture of the United States. Click on your state,
Okay.
and it should list all the meetings that are available and active in that state. If you're in Virginia or West Virginia,
Okay.
which is where we're located, and that would be the Eastern Panhandle chapter, which is in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and in that area. And then Virginia would be the Shenandoah Valley chapter. Lenny Reese is the president of the Eastern Panhandle chapter, and you can make contact with him through his phone number that's on the website.
Okay.
Or you can contact me, and I'm the president of the Shenandoah Valley chapter, and my number is listed also there. So in total, there are about 7 or 8 meetings in that Eastern Panhandle chapter, and right now there are currently 2 meetings in the Shenandoah Valley chapter, but we're in the growth process. So hopefully here in the very near future, we will have more meetings and more availability for people who want to come and be supportive or need the help themselves.
Now, a couple of questions I have for you. How is your organization funded? Do you get funds from, say, United Way or through the National DBSA? Is this a free service to the folks who participate? That's a question that I'm sure folks will want to know.
Yes, the organization and participation is free. For its funding, we're self-supporting basically, except for grants from the government that, of course, we have to write and apply and be approved for.
Sure.
But then there's also a grassroots method, and I prefer that, the grassroots method, and because it requires you to participate. And so to get out of the house, to fight the depression, you be outside.
Makes
so
sense.
we do fundraising, raffling, yard sales, anything that'll get the people engaged in life and combating their old symptomologies or behaviors.
Well, that sounds like a fun way to go about doing things. How is your fundraising going?
Fundraising is slow. We're in a downturn for as economics go, but people have been very generous, still. I understand that people don't know enough about our organization, and that's why I'm here today, to get the information out. But at the same time, not really seeing enough of the activity or the work to have confidence that it does work. And so that's another thing that we're trying to do, is to have some real practical exposure.
Sure.
Because I think the mentality behind mental health disorder paints this picture that may not be accurate.
That's probably true. I would say that's definitely true. Now, one of the things that folks might not know, they are aware that there is mental health care through the VA system, but I bet a lot of folks don't know that your organization does that training for the VA system.
Yes, DBSA National has the contract with the VA administration to train peer support specialists. And like I said, all of the DBSA groups are peer-led groups. And so everybody who facilitates has a mental health disorder of their own. One other thing I want to add too is that the participants have an opportunity to become facilitators themselves. And they can train and facilitate DBSA groups locally as well, without being a peer support specialist per se, which requires a little bit more training.
Okay, now let's talk about that. You are a peer support leader. Did you come that path? Did you participate in a group and then decide that you had some healing and that it would be a good way for you to get back, would be to be a peer support?
And that's exactly right, Norma. I think I would use a stronger word than healing. I would say life-saving.
Life-saving.
Because I was homicidal and suicidal toward the end, and before I got introduced into DBSA. And DBSA gave me a path to wellness, a path where I could find meaning in the things that I was doing, a path that gave purpose to the things that I was doing. And it helped restore compassion in my life. And my trust in mankind was restored to some degree by you and the people at National Media Services too, just by helping me to do these things in the community. You know, a dollar donation. Some people don't realize how much that means to the third person, not the second person, the third person, the person who's gonna benefit from the dollar. And so this is what we're here for, to ask the community to join with us, to create a community of wellness, not just fix this person or help that person. Let's all get well and better together.
Your story is very powerful, and I imagine that it will speak to many people. A pathway and tools. It gave you the tools to get better, and you say that this organization truly saved your life.
It did. It did. It, like I said, just to be able to realize how selfish and self-centered and self-absorbed I was one of the main components of my problem.
But don't you think, looking back now, when you're in that situation, you just can't see it?
No, you can't. You can't. And so it takes a group or a team of caring individuals to help me. Because people told me that I had something wrong with me long before I started to hearing what they were saying.
Sure.
And even longer than that, before I started to do something about it. And then I still needed help. I couldn't do it alone. And I still can't. Even with all the information that I have and all that I do, I still need support.
And with a peer leader who's been through something similar, that must be so powerful and helpful.
And the one thing about that is credibility.
I would think so.
You know, I've been dealing with the symptoms of bipolar disorder and PTSD for years and years, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how it affected me. I didn't know how it affected my family members or my employment or anything like that. And so to have other people who had been down that same road who said, I know what you're talking about. I've been there. And then give me a practical solution. Not some mystical thing, but a practical thing. Say, do this, and then do this, and then do this. And then watch for the results.
So I'm quite certain that folks who are watching today are thinking there is hope for them, there is help for them. It's one thing to have a doctor, and doctors are wonderful, and I have a whole battery of them, but they study things in school and they learn how to help people, but it's quite a different thing to have gone through that experience and come out the other side and then turn around and help someone.
Well, it's a double-edged sword with healing on both sides, you know, to be restored to a state of wellness where I could think. I remember when the thoughts were flooding my brain and I couldn't function because of that. And today to have some peace in my mind.
Peace, yeah.
You know, to be able to make an informed decision without the noise.
And don't you think that one of the best feelings in the world is helping others? I mean, I know that some of the lowest points in my life, like after my dad died and I was in college, that when I felt most whole again was when I was helping. I was helping through a church program when I was in college, 2,000 miles from home, and the rest of my family, that I really felt better about life in general when I was helping other people.
Yeah, I do feel that.
Yeah.
All the time. Just this morning at 2 a.m., you know, someone called me in crisis. And I wake up and I sit up on the side of the bed and I talk to them until they
Until it
say
passes, yeah.
it feels better,
Oh,
or I think I can make it until the next meeting. And if not, call me back.
Because someone did that for you.
Yes, yes. And if it hadn't have been for that someone, and I can remember very vividly, you know, the person said, if you get to where I am, I will help you. And they did. And they got me on my feet. And I got a job. And I got going again.
And look at you now. Now you're helping others.
And the interesting part about that story was 1 year, exactly 1 year later, the person passed.
Wow.
And I never had a situation where a person gave that much for me. And so immediately I knew what I had to do.
That was your legacy.
I saw unconditional love. I know what it looks like, and I can do it too. And that's made all the difference to me. And I think it's making a difference here in the Eastern Panhandle and in the Shenandoah Valley. You know, and so I hope that whoever's watching, whoever sees, that they can find a place in their heart to help too.
So we are definitely, I'm sure, going to get some responses from folks who want to help and also who need the help and want to have some peer counseling through DSBA. So again,
DBSA.
DBSA. I'm so
But
sorry.
that's okay. And before we go, I want to make it known that these are open meetings.
Yes.
So family members and concerned neighbors or friends are welcome to come as well. You don't have to have a diagnosis to come and learn.
That's good to know. That's good information. And the website again?
The website is dbsalliance.org.
Okay.
Okay, or you can go to dbsalliancewv.org, and that'll get you just the West Virginia site.
Okay. And there they can hook up with you or the other gentleman you mentioned.
Right.
If they want to make a donation.
You can, for donations, we have a 501(c), so you can do a tax-deductible donation.
Okay.
We also have a GoFundMe.com page for DBSA Shenandoah Valley chapter.
All right.
You can make a donation there online, or let me see, DBSA Facebook. You can go on there. There's a copy of the flyer, and you can mail in a donation, money order too, all kind of ways.
Victor Parker is making it easy for you to help this group.
That's right. That's right.
Victor, it was such a pleasure to have you in today. You are a fine individual, and we love every time you stop by the Royal Examiner and National Media Services and speak with us. And we know you're out there doing good things for people who need help. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That wraps up this edition of Talk of the Town. We'll be back soon with another edition. Have a good day.